Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the our series of nature talks, which we started last year, and I think this must be the fifth talk, I think. And today we've got an extremely interesting topic, which is alternate house building material, and we have two experts who have done it themselves. So we're really happy to have you both. We have Dr. Sara Bhattacharjee, who will speak first. I think everyone who's attending now know her. For the others, both Dr. Sara and Pratap are my teachers and many of your teachers, and also good friend. She was a former head of LCCU. Prior to that, she worked in community health department. And Dr. Pratap was the former head of the psychiatry department, also the director of the Cochrane South Asia Center. So thank you so much for agreeing to give us these talks. I know you put a lot of heart and soul into your houses, and we'd love to hear your passion and your ideas about house building and why you chose your particular material that you use. So I'll hand over to you, Dr. Sara Bhattacharjee, please.
Thank you, Sushil. Without much ado, I shall just start. So I will tell you briefly about how we set about building this dream at the foot of the hill. I have a cousin who's married to an English architect, and he has worked with Laurie Baker. And so when we thought of building a house, I said to him, Liz, I'm thinking of building a house. And he said to me, oh, so you want to build a house? Are you feeling strong? And I wondered, why is he asking me this? But as I went into the process, I realized why he said that. So somewhere in 1980, my mother, Dr. Punus, and Dr. Zach and Mrs. Zach all went for a walk up the Ediampatti Road. And in the process, they found an acre of land, which they ended up buying. There were 5 plots. We first bought 4, and then much later on, I acquired the 5th plot. So when it came time to retirement, we thought about house. And because we did this land buying together, we thought about living in community. Then, of course, you can't do any building if there's no water. So the water was a very important thing. And then we had to go through all these rigmarole of permissions for building and electricity and various things. And then I realized why Les said, are you strong? And then we started the work, and we sort of thought of the environment. So this is, I will focus on the last bits. So this is the land as it was, completely empty, and you can see no trees on it, nothing. So when we thought about the house, we approached our friends who are architects, Anu and Krishna, who now live in Sitlingi, and this is the type of houses they build. So they both studied in the Delhi School of Architecture, and we had many discussions with them about various types of building. We looked at the work of Laurie Baker and Hassan Fati, both of whom built low-cost housing. Laurie Baker used the brick. His basic building block was the brick. He liked it. He said, you know, it's small and it's in the hand and you can do all kinds of things with it. And he was, one of the things he did a lot was to incorporate the furniture into the house. So you can see in that picture that the table, it doesn't move, but it's there. Hassan Fati, on the other hand, is an Egyptian architect who built for the poor. He rediscovered the old Nubian techniques of making domes and bolts and arches, and he built with mud, adobe, and he built for hot climates. So finally, after talking to Anu and Krishna, we decided we would go with the Hassan Fati type of architecture. The undergirding principles were to use local materials and labor, be environmentally sensitive and energy efficient, using in our building materials and using energy and rainwater. So the land was enclosed. We found water, good source of water. We had electricity connection given, and then for ever so long, we had a hole in the wall which gave us access to our neighbors who were extremely friendly and were very helpful. The foundations. Now, usually when foundations are dug, the sand and the mud has to be taken away and dumped somewhere. But with our team of architects and builders and engineers, the engineers analyzed this mud for us and said, it's fine, you can use it for building blocks. And so all the mud that came out of the foundations actually went into the building of the house. The foundations also were very much simple. We didn't have any steel columns going up anywhere. There was just granite and small granite chips and cement. And we decided to incorporate our rainwater harvesting tank into part of the foundation. And so that area had to be concreted. So there it is. That's the rainwater harvesting tank, the foundations. And if you look at the ground plan, the house is built around the courtyard, and it's an open sort of plan, except there's a corridor that protects or gives a little bit of privacy to the 3 bedrooms. Okay, so the basic blocks were the soil cement blocks that were used to build this house using rammed earth technology. And we used, as I said, the mud that came out of the foundations. The mud was sieved, and quarry ash from the local granite quarry and 7% cement and this mud were mixed together to form a sort of fine powder and put it into the machine. This machine had several different types of molds, and for each type of brick, the measurement had to be absolutely exact. So it was measured very carefully, put into the mold, and the mold was closed. And then there's this guy you can see who did the actual ramming or pressing down of this mud to make the brick. And he was fantastic. He would just reach out, go backward, and the fulcrum would just move and go down. And you can see it was no easy job, because Suranjan tried, and all that happened was that his legs got lifted up. And he and Shasha tried together, and the thing came down a little bit, but that's as far as they could go. But he would just go down, and in a few seconds, he would come up, they would open it, and there would be a brick. Now, all these bricks were then lined up, and you can see there are many, many different types of bricks, and they were stacked, watered, and sun-dried. This is opposed to the making of the traditional brick, which is also mud or clay, but which is then fired. So it uses a lot of wood and generates a lot of smoke, as opposed to these rammed earth blocks, which are sun-dried and used. And they are quite heavy, big blocks. So then the house is built as sort of like one, it's not built between columns. It just comes up as one sort of, I don't know what to say, it comes up together. But there are 3 steel reinforcing bands, and the steel is put into these little C things that you can see there. And the seal is at the plinth level, at the window level, and at the lintel level. So there are 3 bands which go around the house, which apparently is earthquake protection, but it holds the house together. Then the next thing we did was the use of arches. So we have a lot of arches, and the arches are made using a frame. But the way you can see this, the way these arches are made and the bricks are placed, and some of the bricks are shaped differently so that they hold one another and give strength to it. We also, our roofs are not concreted, but they're vaulted, and they're again using these soil cement blocks. There's a frame, and it's just built on the frame, and the walls are really very, very nice. So we don't use concrete slabs, but we use the walls as roofing. We have one vault which is double curved. So it's curved from left to right, and it's curved from back to front. So they had to think about how to make the frame for that one, but it wasn't really very difficult. They did it very nicely. Then we had a dome. I had wanted a little prayer space or a chapel, and so we asked for a little dome, and it's a circle. So what they did was they mounted this little arm absolutely in the middle of this circle, and like a watch handle, this long arm just went around, and as it went around, they kept putting the bricks. So they got a really perfect circle. What is very impressive about these builders is that their technology was very, very simple. It was technology like this, and they had just a pipe with water in it to check levels. And they didn't have, there was a master builder and there was his assistant. And they had 2 or 3 laborers from the local area. So the building site was actually very, very quiet. And then we don't plaster, but we do what's called pointing. So the cement is put and then the bricks are all highlighted and clean. So this is called pointing. So again, there's no use of plaster. Now you can see the whole structure is coming up. It's beginning to look like a house. We sort of get a feel for what it looks like. And then we had to do the tiling. So we went for terracotta tiles for roof and floor, and we sourced it as locally as possible. And in the lower picture, you can see we wanted the courtyard to be mosquito proofed. So that was a challenge to think about how to do it, but that's how they did it. Floors and corridors, so clay, they actually look beautiful when they put them in, but they take a lot of stain. They still look nice and they're cool. They're terracotta and very nice to walk on and to sleep on. We used energy, sun energy, both for electricity and for hot water. So this is them putting up the solar panels. Now, if our house is on one level, one floor, but you can put up any number of floors. So this is my sister's house, and she wanted a room upstairs and a terrace, and so for that they needed to concrete the roof of the ground floor room. So for 2 days on our site, we had a cement concrete machine and a host of workers, and there was such a lot of noise on the site for 2 days, but otherwise it was very quiet. The other thing we thought about a lot was access. Our floor is on one level. When my uncle Tirumeni came to stay with us, after a few days, he said, "I like your house," he said. "There are no barriers." And I was quite impressed because I hadn't thought about him feeling that, I'd always thought it was for wheelchairs, etc. But even for, ordinary elderly people, a step is a difficult thing. So now the floor is all on one level, except that the bathrooms have a step up. And in one of the bathrooms, we were actually able to put a little ramp. But 2 of the bathrooms actually do have a little step. I had initially put just a mud path, but we finally, because my mother was finding it so difficult, we have put a little cement slab path to lead into the house. Suranjan's friend Vaidyanathan, when he came to our campus house, was horrified because there were so many ups and downs in our campus house. And he said, "I'm never going to come to your house again." But he came to visit us here, and he insisted on taking his wheelchair by himself all around the house. And he told us, "I give you 100%. So that's very nice. We were happy about that. Concomitantly, as you saw, the land was completely devoid of any vegetation when we started. But as the building was going on, we put bougainvillea bushes all across on the walls. And the neighbors' cows would come in, providing fertilizer and cutting all the grass. But because we started early, by the time we came to stay, we already had lots of things going. So today, this is how our little campus looks like. There's lots of trees and plants, and it's so it's easy if you think about it and you allow it to grow. Okay, the other thing we did was to um, go in for vegetables and fruit. So eating locally, very important. About 3 months of the year, actually, we don't have to buy vegetables. Some years we get more and some years we get less. And living together was something that we had thought about as being very, very important. And that's really worked out nicely. So blessing the house, praying together. In COVID times, we used to have services together, all the families together. First, we started doing it outside, and then we moved into our little chapel. Talking together, having visitors, family and friends come and stay was very important. Lots of table fellowship, visitors, dogs, Onam celebrations. So all this makes life together very important. So a house is not just a building, it's a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sara. And shall we move on, Pratap? To Pratap, stop.
Yeah, I need to share my screen.
Yeah,
So-
one sec. Yeah.
So I hope you can see the screen. I'm going to talk to you about another kind of building material. Thanks, Sushil, for giving me this opportunity. And this is glass fiber reinforced gypsum. Now, this story started when we went to the UK in 1992. And at that age, when we came back, we saved a little bit of money. So we had to make a lot of investment decisions. And all my friends suggested I buy an SUV because India had opened up. The economy had opened up. And I was really tempted. But my good wife told me it's probably better to buy land. So good sense prevailed. And in 1998, my father-in-law identified on one of his walks a 1.25-acre paddy field at Edensart, which we bought for the equivalent cost of an SUV in those days. And from 1998 onwards, we developed it so that we had about 50 mango trees and other fruit trees and teak trees. So they're all fully grown. By the time my mom came to live in Vellore, where we built a 1,200 square foot house in the center of this plot with a small gardener's shed, and he and his wife were caretakers for the place. And she lived there quite happily for 10 years until she became too frail to live on her own, and she shifted into our house. And we realized that in a short while we'll be retiring, so we thought we'd start building a house and move into it at least 1 year before we retired to get used to living away from the comfort and security of a CMC campus and learn how to live in the community. So this is a house that we bought, about 10 minutes walk from Bagayan police station if you walk along the swimming pool. And if you come by the main road, you can turn right at Edensart and join us at the house. And this is the plot as it is today. My mom's house was there. And we sold a little bit of land in front, 20 cents, so that we could actually build this house. And the house next to us was where Kurian George's mom lived for many years, and she was a neighbor to my mother. So the plan was to build a house behind the house where my mom lived. And what we wanted was, it should of course be affordable, well insulated, utilitarian, simple, cool in summer, energy efficient, and it should be sustainable in terms of water, power, and resources, and eco-friendly, although we weren't really absolutely sure what was actually meant. Overall, it should be affordable. It's about this time that I saw an article in the Hindu where R. Prasad talked about glass fiber reinforced gypsum buildings, which can replace brick walls and RCC slabs and are resistant to quakes, earthquakes. And I was very interested because around that time, I experienced an earthquake. Anna and I were sitting upstairs in our house, and we felt this huge express train rumbling between us from College Hill towards Toad Hill. And our plot of land right now is actually in between these two hills. So we thought it'd be good to have a quake-resistant house. But more important, it's supposed to be not cheaper than building with conventional materials. So based on these two articles, we drove down to IIT Chennai and we met with the people in the civil engineering department who had built these houses, and we saw these houses. And Professor Meher Prasad and Shinto Paul, his PhD student, were very helpful in explaining what this was. The finish was perfect. And gypsum is a waste byproduct of the fertilizer industry. And on its own, it's not eco-friendly. But it's been used to make soundproofing, facades, partition walls, plaster of Paris, cars, etc. But in 1990, a company in Australia called Rapid Wall developed a calcining process where they could increase the strength by impregnating it with fiberglass and made it water retain, and it became prefabricated panels. And in many parts of the world, they build apartment houses even up to 10 floors. They're expected to last about 50 to 60 years, just like any other house. And they consider it to be green building material by the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. In 2000, IIT Chennai and two fertilizer giants in India, FACT and RCF in Mumbai, and Rapid Wall Technologies came into a partnership. And IIT Chennai did a lot of work. Many of their PhD students worked on how to use GFRG panels for floors, roofs, staircases, completely eliminating the need for our slabs and no beams or columns. So I read all the technical literature that they had put out, telling us what this is and how you actually build, and they have construction manuals. The advantages are it's very strong. It's resistant to fire, heat, termites, water, rot, and corrosion, and it can be made load bearing by using reinforcement rods. And they are resistant to earthquakes, cyclones, and fire. And inside is around 4 to 6 degrees cooler compared to brick houses. And because you don't use any beams or cement slabs, it's very lightweight superstructure, and therefore the foundation needs to bear less weight. And you can use gypsum wall plaster, which gives you a very smooth finish, and it saves on sand, cement, and water. So they were all the technical properties of the material, but I was more interested in the savings compared to a conventional building, the building they built. They found they had made a lot of savings in cement, steel, river sand, granite chips, water, labor, construction time, and the weight of the superstructure. And more importantly, the construction cost was 27% lower than if they had used conventional building. And as part of green building technology, the energy expended in creating this building is also 61% lower. So this sounded very attractive, and it's approved building material in India. So we made plans to use GFRG. Of course, everybody told me I was crazy, at least initially. Later on, I got a lot of support from people. And we drew many plans on what we wanted. Then IIT recommended Hasta Associates, who are architects and builders, but they build only in Mangalore and Karnataka. But they helped me convert our plans into structural and architectural plans. And they sent a supervisor to stay here till the whole thing was completed, and also 2 electricians. So I hired a house for them locally, and they stayed for the duration of the contract. And we worked with our local Armugam, whom everybody knows in the campus, and got some help from Mr. Tanikachalam and Mr. Jayashankar in the maintenance department to ensure that the amounts he was giving us and the costs were all reasonable. I want to thank Anthony Devasya for taking the time off to go to the Gulf on sabbatical, earn money, and come back and buy land from us, 20 cents, so we could build a house. Thank you very much, Tony. So we made sure that all the material and fittings were available before construction started, so there was no delay in ordering things. We got our permissions by around May 2015 and started construction in June 2015. Unfortunately, shortly after that, my mom passed away, so she couldn't see the completed product. So our plans were to actually clear up the area behind my mom's house, which was heartbreaking for me because we had to cut a lot of the trees that we had planted out there in order to clear the space and get ready for the building. There you can see Toad Hill behind us, and that area we cleared up completely because to build using GFRG, you need a lot of space around your construction site for the huge trucks which bring the panels and the cranes which lower the panels in. So you need space and you need access to the site. These huge trucks should be able to come into your site. And this is what it looked like before we started the construction. And we had many, many designs which we worked with the architects, and they gave us the final design. Now the orientation, where you see north, is where it points towards College Hill. And south and southwest is where you have Toad Hill. So that's the orientation of the house. At the bottom is you can see the entrance, and it's 2,500 square feet, it's a single floor, because we realized as you grow older, going upstairs and living upstairs may be difficult. But it has a completely usable covered terrace. There's an entrance on both sides of the foyer, which leads in from the entrance. You have 2 bedrooms, and the 3rd master bedroom is on the far side of the house. There's also an additional washroom, and you have an open plan dining and kitchen leading into a storeroom, and then a utility room which opens outward with a water closet. And this is a 2-bay garage. which you can actually enter the house into two open courtyards, which have actually rainwater sumps under them. And they're connected at the bottom under the living room. So totally we have a capacity of around 60,000 liters of rainwater which we harvest. And we also have solar panels, and we had a hybrid solution of a wind turbine and solar panel. That was the plan. And I also wanted a fish pond. So this is a 7,500 liter koi pond inside the house. So lots of change in plans. And finally, they gave us architectural plans. This is a side view of the house with the terrace, which is covered. And this is the front view with the staircase going up and water tanks on top with water softeners. And this is the back. You have the entrance to the courtyard from the garage. And from the kitchen, you can come out. And from this, this is the complete back. You can see the open courtyard opening on the roof. And the staircase room also opens out. So this is the plans. Now, the next thing to do is to order the panels. Now, GFRG panels, quite complicated getting those panels out here. Now, FACT has got more than 7 million tons of gypsum fertilizer stockpile there. They take it to a factory which they built, where they calcine the gypsum. And it's in a place called Ambalamugal, just outside Kochi. What they do is this machine rolls out this calcined gypsum, plaster of Paris. It's liquid. And it takes about half an hour to solidify. Then before that, the machine adds fiberglass. And then they put the steel rods with some gaps in between and roll another layer of gypsum on top of it and more fiberglass. And then when it dries, you have these big panels, which they then cut so that it's 15 feet wide. That's the width. And they cut it at 20 feet length. That's the maximum dimension you can have in a room if you plan to use this for the roof as well, because it rests on the walls. And the panels are quite thin. They're thinner than bricks. It's only 5-inch thin. So you get most floor space. The wall doesn't occupy that much space. And they've got gaps in between with webbing, where the gypsum connects between the steel panels. The doors and windows are pre-cut according to the plans that we send them, and they're flat packed onto these lorries and transported. Each lorry, they charge 25,000 rupees to come from FACT to here. And they usually start off at night and reach here very early morning, come to Pallikonda and park near one tea shop there. Then I go drive up there and they follow me to make sure that they can get to my house before 7 a.m. Otherwise, the cops won't allow these lorries to come traverse through town. They're huge lorries. And each of the panels are numbered, so you know which panel goes where. But often they mix up the load, so you get one panel from one side and another panel from the other side. Before the panels arrive, we have to prepare the foundation, which we very unusually decided to do using GFRG and concrete. Nobody has ever built a house using GFRG for the foundation, but we figured that if you can put concrete into the GFRG panels, it's as good as any other foundation. And we also planned the sump and the swimming pool to have this. So we ran into some problems because waterproofing it would be a bit of a problem because the people who did the waterproofing did a bad job. But we sorted that out. So the foundation has got a plinth beam all around, and then you put these rods, starter rods, 1 meter apart. So when the panels are live, it looks like this. It's concreted and these things stick up there. Then a crane comes from bypass road and lifts these panels. And according to where they're supposed to be placed, they lower them over the starter rods. And before they completely lower, they put more rods from the top and then lower the panels in. So ultimately, your house is starting to take shape. The rooms are there, the rods are sticking out from the top there. And then they clamp everything together. So you can see the entire house is starting to take shape. All the rooms, you can start recognizing the house. And what's interesting is this is not built brick by brick, it's built wall by wall. And the entire floor is completed in 1 day. Finished. That's the whole structure takes 1 day. And you can see here that there's a lot of gap between the foundation and the ground. So all the mud and stuff we're taking from the foundation is used to level the ground, and the garage came up here. This is where my swimming pool, my fish pond was located. And you can see that serrated wall thing there. That's basically when you cut the door panels, they get waste. So we use them to make all kinds of things, retaining walls, all things, including my staircase, using these panels. That's the pond. Then they waterproof the joints. And then on the next day, every third cavity is filled with concrete. It's a very laborious process. They fill one third, wait for an hour, fill the next third, wait for an hour, so that concrete gets time to settle down. And there are various things you can do to fill the gaps. The unfilled areas have electrical pipes and water lines running vertically up to the roof. And then you use quarry dust and cement. 50 bags of quarry dust, 1 bag of cement. So you save a lot because quarry dust is very, very cheap. If you're building a multi-story house, then the bottom layers, every panel is concreted. And as you go higher and higher, you can put less and less, you can skip the cavities and make it easier. And there are also the instruction manual tells how you can fill your joints. And then the floor, once the walls have come up, electrical pipes are laid and water lines are laid on the floor going exactly to where you want your switches and stuff. So you need to plan exactly where all these things to be before you start. Then the floor is cemented. And then we used Vietnamese terracotta tile, which we got from the Bangalore Tile Company. This one doesn't stain. It's very good quality and fairly cheap. The roof is put the next day. So these the panels are raised and laid horizontally on it. And then you can see every third cavity is that one layer is cut. And when it's cut, they put reinforcement cage. It's embedded into that. And then we lay all our pipes in, water pipes and electrical pipes laid to exactly where they should go. And then a layer of cement concrete is put on top of that. Very thin layer of concrete. Then we put terrace tiles. And the advantage of this is you need to put your centering beams at the bottom and they don't need to cure any of the concrete for more than 2 days. So very quickly you can remove the centering and get on with the rest of the house. Then before you do anything, there are certain chemicals, these products which you use as a priming coat to waterproof the building. Then you put gypsum plaster and coat and then paint. So 3 months after we started the foundation, the house was complete and ready for occupation. And I invited the builders and people from FACT and all to come. And this gentleman said that he has not heard of any other building in the country which has used GFRG right from the foundation, the sumps, storing stray water, and the solar wind combo. So it was very exciting to interact with these people and get this. So when the house was built, this is what it looked like with our rainwater harvesting filters all around the place. And you can see the space with the garage on top. And then we moved in 1 year before I retired in August. And it's been a great, lovely place to live in. The only problem we have is that our windmill still doesn't work. But like Don Quixote, I'm still hopeful I can find somebody who can actually get this thing to work. The guy who promised it was, he absconded. I don't know where he is going. The other change we had to do is I couldn't keep the open courtyard because the rainwater would come in and splatter. So I first covered it initially with a tin sheet like this. And very recently I put fiberglass so we can get light to come in. And this is what it was when it was finished. And as you can see, the finish is like any other building. You can put nails, you can put anything you want in it. And 6 years, more than 5.5 years later, the finish is still as good. And as you can see, it's quite airy and it's a lot of light and it's cool in summer and retains warmth in winter. And of course, my favorite place was this fish pond and our waterfall with the waterfall recycling system. And one of the outer courtyard we were using for our, as a place you can visit out. But of late now, we've got a terrace lounge. Because the terrace is covered with mangrove tiles, it's a usable, lovely place, especially during the lockdown, because we could have people visit us and because it's well ventilated, there wasn't that much fear of getting illness. I use it a lot for my exercises. I walk around here, I watch movies here, I use it as a study. And recently we had to cover this open part of it because after 5 years, the grouting between the tiles started giving way and water was going through the grouting. So I rainproofed it by adding a tin roof and put some artificial turf. And it's a lovely place to read and to watch all the lovely birds that inhabit the area and a nice place to spend at night as well. And we are girded by strong, ageless mountains. There you have our Toad in all its splendor. That's Kailash in the distance, and on a clear day, you can see the top. And here is College View. Last year, I saw this article which said that this factory is going to close down because they had lots of problems. But today, I went to their website, and they are in business. They're still around. So if you want to know more about it, their website will tell you everything you need to know about using GFRG. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube by IIT Madras on using this. So thank you very much for joining us in this journey together, and happy to take questions. Thank you and be safe.
Wow. Thank you, both of you. Really interesting talks. It is so beautiful to see your houses emerge from nothing. And yeah, so there are a lot of questions, and I welcome. We'll first go by the questions that have been typed in, and then we'll move on to people can have a free and open discussion. So, Pratap, you can hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the first question is, I think this is for Dr. Sarah. So the people who built your house obviously need specialized equipment and you know how to do those kind of things. Will these people do the house in any place?
The people who made the rammed earth brick blocks came from Dharmapuri, and they will come anywhere, I think. They came, they made, you know, the requisite number of blocks, and they went away. And then later on, we realized we needed some other types of bricks and some more. And then we just sent for them. They came and did it, and they went away. So I think they'll come.
Okay, so related to that, I had a question. Like, without going into too much of detail, what kind of basic soil? You said the soil was okay. The engineer said.
We had two engineers who used to work in the Indian Institute of Science. So they did some soil analysis. I'm sorry, I don't know the details of that.
Yeah, that's fine. But your soil there is like the rest of most of
yes,
the
I think
Vellore
like
region.
any other soil in Vellore. It was agricultural land before we built on it.
Did it look like Pratap's soil, or was it slightly different because it's closer to the hill?
I don't know, Sushil.
Okay, okay, doesn't matter. Then the question is drying the bricks. If there's not much sunlight, is there a problem? I guess is the question. But I'm usually in Vellore, we don't have that problem. But for the last 2 years, we've had unusually less sunlight than before. Mira, don't worry, there'll be enough sunlight. Okay, okay. So this, could you give us an idea about the cost of the building?
The per square foot cost was, I think, 1,300 at that time. This was 2014.
Okay.
The whole house, including, you know, all the solar paneling and everything, came to between 55 and 60 lakhs.
Okay.
So,
okay.
you know, the saltwater regeneration and everything together.
Okay. I have a few questions, but before that, we'll first discuss Dr. Sarah's house, and then we move to Dr. Pratap. So does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Sarah?
Sushil, there's one more question. It is the exposed brick coated with any sealant? How does it stand against moss or algae growth during monsoon?
Yeah, thank you, Latif.
Okay.
Ma'am?
We wanted to put a waterproof coat on the brick, but our engineers and our architects said we need to let it breathe for 2 years before we do anything. There definitely is a problem with moss, particularly on my sister's huge wall. Definitely there is a problem with moss there, but on most of it, it's not such a big issue. We had some leaks. So after 2 years, well, more than 2 years, I think 3 or 4 years, we have put a coat of waterproof paint, transparent paint.
Okay, I was just going to ask you about leakage, but you answered that. I noticed that there were different shapes of bricks.
Correct.
So you have to have that very well coordinated, right? Between the architect and the builder, and so it has to be pre-planned. And
yes, this group, Anu and Krishna, work with a particular contractor, and he has a group of people. They actually work together in and they help communities to build. In fact, after the Latur earthquake, they went up there and they taught different groups to do different things. So one group would make the bricks and one group would actually do the building. And so they actually trained. So this is what they do. Our contractor was based in Bangalore. It was a bit of a problem because he found it difficult to come and do the supervision correctly. But our master builder was very good. He's somebody who had worked with this contractor for many, many years and is now become independent. But he was very good.
Okay, I was just thinking from a practical viewpoint. So you built your house before the others built on your campus, is that right?
No, Shasha and I built the house together. So
Together.
two houses came up.
Yeah.
The shell actually took very little time. But,
Okay.
you know, all the other details, putting in the doors and windows and then, you know, getting the electricity connections, all that took quite a lot of time. The shell came up very fast.
Your piping for electricity and water and all is when was that?
That was done much after the shell was ready. But they had left gaps.
Okay.
So that they could put it in.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Sarah?
There's one more question, Sushil.
Yeah, just read it. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Madhu has asked, how do you manage snakes, ma'am?
We don't manage them. We stay out of their way and they stay out of our way, but we have lots of snakes on the campus.
Madhu, if you want to know how we manage, we call Sushil. He
We
comes
call
and
Sushil.
catches.
Yeah. We haven't called Sushil actually.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be scared of snakes. Just be aware. Just be careful. Don't be.
We made sure that see, we have one main door in the front and one at the back. We put in doors for the bedrooms, but most of the time the bedroom doors are open and the toilets have doors. So we only have two main doors, and both of them I made sure that there was no way anything could creepy crawl and come under. But in our back door once, we put in a little concrete area just outside the door. It was all grass and you know, everybody wanted some concrete area. So at that time, they took away that protection. And actually a snake got into the house.
Okay, it was interesting to see that you have quite a flourishing vegetable garden. Did you do anything out of the ordinary, or did you?
We have a compost heap.
Okay.
So we use that. And for pests, we use neem oil and soap mixture.
Yeah.
And some of it gets eaten up. And, you know, a lot of our fruit gets eaten up by squirrels and birds. And it's okay, we live with them. There are lots of birds on the campus, lots of squirrels. I forgot to tell you about temperature. The house is actually very cool. One of the professors of one of our engineers came 2 years ago in the height of summer, and he looked at temperature differences between the roof and ambient temperature, and he put these little thermometers all around the house. He found at least about 7 to 8 degrees difference.
And during winter, I mean?
During winter, see, it's very open. So it's cold during winter.
Okay.
We need to shut the windows if it's, you know. We have one room in which we have an AC, but I manage with just a fan. Now this kind of brick, a block, soil cement block, it's difficult to put nails into. It crumbles. So you can't put nails into it. Like Pratap was saying, you can put nails into the gypsum thing. No, this one, it's difficult to put nails. You have to be very careful. So hanging up pictures and that kind of thing is a little bit of a challenge. You can do it. And ceiling fans are also difficult. Although we've got 3 ceiling fans and, you know, corner mounted fans, most of the time we have pedestal fans.
If you are going to build again, would you build the same method?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. If anyone has any other questions, you can certainly put it in the chat box or just raise your hand and please ask. Now we'll move on to Pratap. Let me see if I can get those questions. So Veena asked, are all the walls prefabricated GFRG?
In my house, all the walls are prefabricated, except one area near the living room where I've got brick. It is cement cut brick, wire cut brick from Katpadi, just to give a little bit of the red part near the between the two, the swimming pool and the fish pond and the area. Everything else is GFRG, foundation onwards.
Okay.
So the question may be, so Latif here, sir. So the
Yeah.
question may be, are all prefab, not at your home, sir, but
No. Yeah,
all
okay.
prefabricated walls, are they GFR?
No, they are
Sorry,
not.
sorry.
They are not.
Yeah.
There are various different types of material. In fact, the examination hall is a place which is got some prefab, which is not GFRG. But there I heard they had a lot of leaks on the superstructure, the top.
Yes, they had a lot of
GFRG,
leaks.
yeah. We had only leaks in our sump. That is because the waterproofing was done very badly. It is an external firm and they didn't supervise it properly. And I couldn't go down into the sump to supervise what they were doing. So when we started filling it with water, we found the fish pond, everything. There were small leaks. So I got another company. They are very good, Caracol. They do swimming pools and stuff. They stopped everything and they tiled it. We tiled the entire sump and we tiled the pool. So there are no leaks at all there now. The ceiling, if water accumulates, like we had very bad rains, and some of my tiles had, sometimes tiles crack, and I hadn't fixed it. So if water keeps coming down a lot, then it will slowly seep into the thing. So if you're putting it for the roof, you really have to cover it. Otherwise, it's going to be tricky.
Okay, there are some questions about what do you think is large enough sump for the Vellore rain pattern? I think there are many factors that it depends on, but give us your thoughts.
For us, I think if you fill the entire sump, it will last for 3 months.
And your sump sizes?
I've got
60,000.
2 sumps, about 60,000 liters.
Okay.
And then it's also good to invest in a water softening plant, as Sarah said, because water is very hard here. All your pipes will completely get caked. So water softening, they'll be automatic. The local guys will fix it for you. It's very good. It makes sure that your water is soft and drinkable.
Okay. Meera had a question. When do you have to put the electrical and plumbing things done? And I think you had mentioned that, but just go ahead and.
Well, for our place, for this panels, unlike in a regular brick house, they build the house, then the electrician will come and he make holes in the walls going left, right. They can't do all that here. Everything is vertical. So which is why I said in the planning, you need to know exactly where your bed is going to be, where do you want to switch in your plan and mark it accordingly. And then the electricians, before they cement the floor, if it's going from below, it'll go up the wall into those cavities. So the ceiling fan, it goes all the way to the roof and it's laid across the roof. So very precisely, they measure exactly where it's going to be, and put these PVC pipes. And with the wire, they grab all the things. So it's all laid before the cementing of the floor and the roof is done. All the pipes are laid. It's actually quite simple if you know exactly what to do. Tanigachalam and his fellows, they all know how to do it now. In fact, I think they're doing it privately elsewhere. There are a lot of GFRG construction coming up. IIT Tirupati, entire structure is GFRG. FACT has got Tata has got low-cost housing. They've built huge numbers. So you build more, it really becomes cheaper.
Actually, I want to say, Sushil, that for our place, the material costs are not so much, but the labor was expensive. Because it's specialized labor, no? So,
Okay.
and we didn't mind that.
Yeah. Okay. Pratap, I had a question. I mean, there are some other questions, but they're not really on the type of on the building type, but planning around houses. So, did you say that this method that you use is becoming more popular? Because I thought you also said that there was some rumor of the factory closing down.
No, there was. That is because during the pandemic, their orders came down and they couldn't meet up with their payments to their creditors. But that's been sorted out now. In fact, I saw a video on YouTube last year where these people are talking about GFRG and stuff. So
Okay.
we're back. And if you go to their website, they floated a tender today. So yes, they're in business. But the thing is, you can build any amount of land, but you just have to, you don't need that much land. But if you want to bring these trucks into it, the truck has to be able to maneuver
Yeah.
around your house. And if you're in a very narrow, congested street with a lot of wires going ahead, we'll have to get the electricity department to switch off the power. So these guys will push the cables
Yeah.
up to allow
Yeah.
the truck
Yeah.
to come in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the power companies will do it, especially if you tell them at this time, just for half an hour, they put it off. They put it off.
Okay. So if you are going to rebuild, would you use the same?
I'm a little older now, so I supervise everything. So
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
sure.
Yeah.
I would use the material, but I know now where the problems are, and would avoid some of those mistakes. But it takes a lot of energy. You can't just leave it to a contractor if he doesn't know what to do. It'll be a mess.
Okay. So now let's move on to some of the general questions. Someone talked about biogas. Do either of you use? Do you have any thoughts?
The person
I
you should
know-
talk to is Vimla Desmond.
Oh, Vimla. Okay, yeah.
She uses it at the pool. She's got a very
Yes,
good
she
plant
does.
going there.
So another person that uses is Ruby Naka from Hope House. So, Dina, if you want to get in touch with Vimla or Ruby Naka, I can. If you don't have their numbers, I can pass them on.
Vimla actually uses all her leaves,
Yes,
all the leaves and stuff. Yeah.
cooking waste.
So
Okay.
Vimla takes all the leaves which is there, uses that. Yeah, anything, any waste. Yeah.
Any pointers on wastewater recycling?
Our black water goes into a septic tank, but all the other water, the gray water, is out in the garden, but not recycled.
Okay. And do you find that so the gray water has soap, right?
Yeah,
But it doesn't really affect the plant.
no. And what we were advised
some-
was to put some khana there.
Yes.
Bananas
because some
are doing
plants-
very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think banana and shana, that kind of family
Banana,
does
yeah,
well.
our coconut tree is also there.
Okay. Anand Bhaskar, how easy is the paperwork with the various governments?
Not
Before-
easy. Terrible, terrible. I can write a book on our experiences. It was really quite something.
I learned from Sarah's experience. So therefore I realized that if you want to get your paperwork done quickly, give it to your contractor and say, I'm contracting you to build my house, including getting permissions. So he'll factor in the cost of all the administrative expenses into that. Because I'm not going to go personally and do it. So you get it for me. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. If you don't do what they call your donation to the officers club or something they call it.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Officially, you have to pay to some sweepers from.
Some club is there. Yeah, they give you a receipt for
Those are
that.
some 4 official things. But apart from that, they expect you to pay, all kinds of things. So it took us many, many months. And finally, we went to the revenue office. We were sent to the revenue office, and the revenue officer sent somebody to see the land with us. So he came. And he looked and he said, "Where is your house?" So I said, "Sir, I'm asking you for permission to build the house." "Oh," he said, "Madam, you have been very badly advised, because now it will take you another 6 months and all the cost of materials will go up. Now, if you had given me that money, you would have had your house by now."
I learned from all of that. But I had an additional problem because my architect is from Bangalore and the plans were in the Bangalore, his address. So I had to get a local architect to copy the plan. And then because this is actually agricultural land, so it is called a farmhouse. So now if you look at the official plan, it is approved. My bedroom is a seed room. Another room is a first. So I've got some seeds in my room. If anyone comes, I'll show them here. These are the seeds.
Actually, we got caught between the city and the panchayat. And so we had to actually pay a back tax for the corporation.
Yeah, they came to me, but I refused to pay and they've stopped harassing me.
Okay.
Okay, there's question, I think, which again you may have answered, but if you have a small land, is it feasible to build a prefab? So say that your access is okay, but if you have
There are
small-
many other prefab materials you can use,
Okay.
which don't require these things. No, if you go online and look at prefab housing, there's so many things they're making it more of.
Okay. Okay. You shared the link, right? Could Arun, if you haven't got the link, let me know. I can get it and pass it on from Pratap. What is the minimum?
Shika, when we built our house, no, through that whole process, Shika wrote a blog. So maybe people can still look at that.
Okay.
If they're interested and they ask, then we can let them know how to get it.
Pratap, you said the maximum size wall. Is there any minimum wall size for a room?
No, you can cut the panel. The size is 15 feet by 10 feet, by 20 feet, sorry. So if you're planning to use some other material for the roof, then it's no problem. But because this slab has to rest on the walls, that's the maximum size.
Okay. Is there any standard company like Tata providing GFRG prefab?
Tata
FAC,
uses GFRG
Okay.
for a lot of their big scale housing. So the factories are one RCF in Mumbai and the other is FACT in Kerala. We cannot get from Mumbai. The way they have licensed it is Maharashtra supplies elsewhere. Their panels are cheaper than the Kerala panels because now it costs something like 40 rupees a square foot from there and about 120 from Kerala because they're adding cost of gypsum, which actually they're thrown away. But they're adding that charge also. So it's more expensive to get from FAC. The other problem is you cannot bargain with them about transport. Kerala's got this Attimari and all kinds of stuff. No? So I cannot send I had a guy who was taking a big lorry there. He goes there, he also uses it. He said, and I'm coming back empty, I can bring your stuff. So I tried to use him. He was much cheaper, but they wouldn't allow him. They won't allow him inside. So that's the problem with getting from FACT in Kerala. But it's 25,000. I had 4 lorries. So 1 lakh was just on the transport.
Okay.
No, Deepa has asked about extra hazards. Actually, there was no problem because this is approved building material.
Okay. Dr.
You're allowed to use.
No problem.
No problem. Okay, I'm not sure if I covered all the questions. Everyone is most welcome to please ask any questions.
There's one more question, Sushil.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is for Pratap, sir. Sir, is there any recommended kilowatts or basic idea recommended kilowatts for complete off-grid solar with freedom from electricity board?
That means you want an off-grid solution.
Yes, I think that's the question.
I started off with an off-grid solution, but I found that it was quite energy inefficient in the sense that what happens is you have to have a lot of storage batteries to store it. That costs a lot. And every 5 years, you have to replace it. So on-grid solutions are much cheaper. You don't need that many batteries because what happens is it switches. You have this thing which switches between power, the grid and solar when the wattage is correct. So I find that now my electricity bills are virtually nil because it goes back into the grid. And I really would advise you not to go for a off-grid solution if you want to save on the batteries.
Anybody else? Pratap, I heard you call your fish pond a swimming pool.
Yeah, I have sometimes used it as a swimming pool. Yeah, that other thing that I did, it's now temporarily halted because many of my fish died after this. All my fish died during the lockdown because they got a parasitic infection and I could not get medicines for them. But I restarted. But when you have a fish pond, your vegetable garden does extremely well because you can use that fish water and have aquaponics. I used to get pumpkins the size of, now all the fruit sizes come down. It's real. So I'm going to restart it once this terrible pandemic is over. I really miss having all those vegetables growing. It goes so well.
Could you just tell us a few lines about aquaponics?
So what I do is I didn't show it here because it's not functional right now, but I made pipes. these 4-inch pipes,
Oh, yes.
made
yes,
holes in
yes,
them,
Yes,
and
yes,
put
yes,
net
yes.
pots and clay into that. You can grow tomatoes, lettuce, anything will grow in that. And water from the fish tank circulates through it all the time. Then every week I clean 25% of the pond. I vacuum the bottom, and all that water I use to garden. So once a week it gets really nutritious fish poo, which plants obviously enjoy.
Okay, there's a question from Reverend Arudas. What would be the recommended kilowatt for solar panels for a 3-bedded house?
We actually started off with wanting 4 kV. Because our wind turbine is not working, we only have 2 kV, but that's enough for us. But
And
what
you
we
have?
do is we use LED lighting.
Uh-huh.
LED lighting we've got for our AC, we use our fridge is inverter, everything is in inverter AC, so that the load is less. How much do you have, Sarah? What's your solar capacity?
Sorry, I haven't used yet. Planning.
Okay.
The planning.
I think between 2 and 4 is more than enough. You won't need more than that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, seeing that start to finish, brought a different. I think many of us have seen both your houses and have been inside and spent quite a bit of time. Yeah, but seeing the whole thing from scratch was really interesting. Okay, it looks like there are no more questions coming. I'm sure you'll. Many people may have questions. They may want to get in touch with you. I'm sure that's okay with both of you.
Yep,
Also,
sure.
this has been recorded, and people are wanting us to put up this nature talk in some kind of place on the CMC website where people can get to it. Is that okay with both of you?
Yeah, please. And if you can send me the link, I can send it to my
Yes.
friends.
Yes, yes, I will
Lots
do
of
that.
people have actually asked.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you both, Dr. Sarah, Dr. Pratap.
Thank you. Thanks.
This has
Thank you
been.
for asking.
I think this is the talk that's had the most number of participants, and who knows, we may have to have this talk sometime again, maybe next year, if that's okay with you guys.
I personally feel that all our staff should start thinking about retirement fairly early and
Yeah.
build.
Yeah,
So it's so important to have your own place you can call home.
yeah, and to be able to start living in it before you actually retire. Okay, thank you so much. It was really
Okay.
good talk. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Sushi. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, bye.